We are here as promised, the All 32 pod. Mike Giardi, Will Parkinson. It is Thursday, May 15th, about 2:15 in the afternoon, a day after, not even 24 hours after the NFL schedule release. A reminder, you're listening, as I mentioned, the All 32 podcast, a proud member of the CLNS Media Network. Get involved, download the program, make sure you get notifications, all that good stuff. Well, before we get into maybe some of the key things that we took away from the schedule release, I just like a word on the schedule release in general. And maybe this is the old man yelling at the cloud again, Will, which I'm an old man, so I don't, doesn't bother me one bit. I've had enough of the schedule release videos. Just give me the damn schedule. That's all I want. I want to know when the team that I'm covering is playing, where they're playing, what network it's going to be on, what day it's going to be on. I don't need Minecraft and I don't need celebrities. I just don't. I know, again, like I said, could be old man yelling at the cloud, but I want it back in the old days. Just send me the damn schedule. Let me go through it. Let me write about it. That's all I want. That's it. Simple.
Yeah. I mean, there's some of them I enjoy. I think the Chargers, I think a couple of the other, more trendy teams do a fun job of it. I thought the Colts video was amazing. I think it's such BS they took it down. I thought it was creative. I thought it was funny. I thought the Schefter Schultz thing was funny. I mean, the Rappaport Schultz thing was funny. I thought the Tyreek Hill thing was funny. I think having a little
Tyreek, by the way, thought it was funny as well.
Yeah, I'm sure he did because he's done a lot worse than what that video portrayed. So I just thought the whole thing was funny, and those to me are fun. I think a lot of them are horrible. I actually think the Bills one was quite creative. Those ones are funny. It was a minute and a half. It didn't take 6 minutes. I thought the Jaguars with Ashton Hall was the stupidest thing I've ever watched in my life. I think he's a joke and whatever. But yeah, look, the schedule. What sucks, Mike, to be honest with you, is the process of yesterday. There should be a 9 a.m. drop. They don't get leaked at all, and it's just bang. And it's like you have to tune in to Good Morning Football at 9 a.m., 9:30 is ESPN, and 10 o'clock in Fox or whatever. And like they drop it, and maybe those networks put out their schedules, and the teams drop the full slate at noon. It's the waiting till the nighttime, and by that time, the Jets schedule was leaked at 12 o'clock. Someone got a piece of paper of schedule and put it on Twitter and went from there. So it's fun. I don't want to if you don't like it, you don't like it. It's not the biggest deal. But I think the per sources, like a lot of people have friends that are in ticket sales and are in these other places that get them information they wouldn't normally have. And it kind of turns into a rabbit hole. But I will say, I'm not going to name the account, but there was an account, a Jets fan account that tweeted about 60 times per sources that they had all these games. They didn't get a single game right. And it was honestly amazing. When the schedule came out, they guaranteed it was the Panthers week 1. The Jets are not playing the Panthers week 1. But regardless, no, it's all fun and games. I just think that if you're going to do a release video, be creative because some of them suck, to be honest with you.
Yeah, whatever. Like I said, I get it. Some people like them. You as you said, you like some of them. I'm out. I don't need. I like looking at the schedule. I like you sort of planning what's going to look like, and you sort of go through win loss. You do all those sorts of things way too early. That's great. I don't need all the distractions. It's the
only thing I'll say is I like the Chargers video actually is about the schedule, and they do a great job of, hey, there's hidden things you have to click on, and then all of a sudden you can get ticket deals, and that to me is cool. Just unveiling the schedule, like the Jaguars video is 4 minutes long, and I didn't know they didn't announce a single game. What are we doing? Again, the Colts is funny. It was every week. It was like, oh, cool, haha, funny inside joke about each team, or you get a little jet. Again, if you're gonna do it, it's better be worth it. Otherwise, I will not get that 4 minutes back. And yeah.
All right. So before we get into sort of the league overview of some of the things that we noticed, quickly your thoughts on the Jets slate this year, which I don't know. It's there's some doable things in there.
Just a normal schedule. It's the first time in at least 3 years it's been a normal schedule where they play most of their games at 1 o'clock. They gonna be a lot of Andrew Callahan and Jason McCourty and Tiki Barber, on the slate this year, and they only have 2 short weeks. One of them's up to New England, the other one's coming home from Miami to play a home game. It's really like some tougher games in the start of the season, but it's a very light back half of the schedule. It's really hard to tell because like Dallas unnamed brand's a tough game, but they might not be good. So I don't know. I don't know. Or Pittsburgh and name is a very tough opponent. Right now it's Mason Rudolph. So are you scared of a Mason Rudolph team if you're the Jets? I guess the Steelers would say, are you scared of a Justin Fields-led team, right? So all that being said, I think very normal. 2 primetime, a standalone game. I think the Patriots on Thursday night, I think both teams, that'll be a big barometer for how much they've grown the first 10 weeks of the season and where these 2 franchises are at, frankly. But yeah, the schedule to me, keep it short and sweet, like asking players and other people, I think they're happy to have a little normalcy. Last year, Mike, they played 9 games in 50 days or 40, less than that, like 40 something days last year to start the season. They went Monday Night Football, short week on the road, come home, short week at home. They went to London, and it was like 4 games in 16 days, and it was like, and 3 of them were on the road. It was really weird. I think they had 9 primetime games last year, standalone games. There was just a lot. This year, total opposite. Like even Pittsburgh, Dallas games, you would think, hey, maybe there's a 425 Romo Nance game. Nope. They get 1 real primetime game with Miami, then Thursday night, with New England, and that's in a London game. But outside of that, it's 1 o'clock windows all the way through, middle of the season bye. It's patches have broken up of hard team, easy team, hard team, easy team. So, I guess just normal is the way I would, basic is the way I would describe it.
Yeah, a couple things stood out to me, and I wonder, week 3 at Tampa, then week 4, it's the Monday night game at Miami. I did think to myself, might that be an opportunity to stay in Florida or go back to Florida early, just in terms of, look, we know what the weather's going to be like. And granted, Monday Night Football different than playing a 1 o'clock game, as we've seen in Miami in September, where teams have just absolutely wilted under the heat. And of course, they have the visitors' side in the
I want
full
to ask
heat.
you about this. I had a lot of arguments yesterday.
Yeah.
I think it's more advantageous to play there in September if you're a Northeast team. My thinking is you're coming out of camp, your body is in the best heat condition shape you're going to be in, where you've already, it does get hot up in the Northeast. It's different than Florida heat. I'm not saying that, but for New England and I think for the Jets and even Buffalo, and sometimes it's actually nice to go down there early in the year where you're ready for it, a little bit more just mentally in your body. I think as well, it's refreshing later in the year to get some heat. When you go from it's 12 degrees outside walking around Foxboro or New York or Buffalo, and you go down to Miami and you're cramping within a quarter because it's just your body's not used to it. Am I crazy? Because again, it's not as hot there as it is in December, but I kind of feel like body-wise, you're better off earlier in the year.
You know what? I've asked this question before to guys, not just from New England, but when I was covering in the league for NFL Network, like that exact question. Yeah. And you kind of get split answers because there's some guys that say like, look, you're late in the year, your body's beat up, you're tired. The energy that you get from the sun, you get a little bit looser. And there are some, like you said, you're going from 12 degrees to 75 degrees. That can be a shock to the system. But if you prepare properly, your body's almost happy to be in those sorts of conditions. Whereas some guys will tell you exactly what you said. Like, hey, we just came out of a grueling month of June, July, and August in New York, Jersey, in Foxboro, where it was 90 degrees and it was humid and all that nastiness. And so when you go down there, it's a little bit of a different heat, but like your body's sort of conditioned to it. So I think guys are split on how they feel about it. I just always go back now to the game that Buffalo played there. I think it was 2 seasons ago now, where literally like their entire team
to a concussion game.
Exactly. Their team just dropped. They literally had like 8 guys washed out of the game, and they still almost won the game. But it was like that was one of those. It was 110 degrees on the sidelines where the sun hits, because again, that's how the Dolphins have worked the sidelines so that you're in full heat. So that just always sticks with me. The early season, like no matter how ready you are, if you get one of those kinds of days, your body just revolts anyway.
I also think from like a crowd perspective, I think you get a different crowd down in Miami early in the year. You don't get the influx of Northeast guys and guys and gals that fly down there. about the end of October and kind of stay down there. You wonder if it's, whatever. It's just something to monitor. But I wonder if the maturity standpoint, what Glenn feels like at that point. Does he feel like, hey, I'm just going to keep him down there and we're going to practice in the Florida heat all week? Or is it, we got London coming up soon. We're at home. It'll be interesting to see how they monitor it. That's one of those early season, like, can you get out of the gate 2-2 and put yourself in a situation to be playing competitive football later in the year?
Yeah, I look at that first chunk, the first 8 weeks before the bye week in week 9, and I say, like, 3-5, 4-4 feels like it's doable. And then you come out of it and you got Cleveland at home. You got to handle your business there, unless Cleveland is something that we could totally not foresee at this point. And then the big one, as you mentioned, sort of New England. Like, it's possible that they could be sitting, if they can take care of business in New England, and I'm sort of mapping this out this way, that they could be a game over 500 going into late November, and that puts you.
I very easily could see 4-4 Jets, 5-3, or 4-4 Patriots, or 4, whatever how it shakes out on Thursday night, where it's like, hey, this is kind of worth 2 wins, and this is one of the bigger Jets Patriots games in a long time where it actually matters. That'd be fun, I think, selfishly for both of us that Thursday night for that game to mean something. There's just been so few Jets Patriots games that have really truly meant something for both teams in such a long time that I don't even know if I can. I guess 2022, but like it was more like the Patriots weren't very good, but they just broke Zach Wilson's brain, and the Jets were good, but they had no quarterback, and the Patriots basically ended Zach Wilson's Jets career.
Yes, they did. They could hang that pelt on their wall. One of the last ones that Belichick was able to put on his wall. Speaking of the Patriots, look.
Let me tee you up here.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll let you. Here's what I'll just say quickly, and I want you to go. But I think there's every right to be optimistic about the Patriots. I'm not playing, Jets fit. Like, there is every reason to be optimistic. The coaching should be dramatically better. The roster is better. It's year 2 of your young quarterback. All those things are true. I do think putting an expectation on a team that won 3 games a year ago, that they're going to go win 12 or 13.
Give them 4.
All right, I forget about the Joe Milton.
Yeah, I know.
Debacle. For anybody, I think realistically to be putting them, and I'm not just seeing this from fans. This is media. This is credible media that I respect. To put out the 13 wins, I mean, how many teams are going to win 13 games in the NFL all year? 3, maybe 2. Philly probably, if you think they're that good. Kansas City, if you think they're at that level. Maybe a Baltimore. I'm going to pick the Rams to win the Super Bowl, Mike. I think they're going to win 11 games.
Right.
I think we do this, and that's the one thing, and I'll caution, and I'll hand it over to you. Like, I just caution everybody that on both sides, like, whether you think your team's going to suck or be amazing, there's probably some variance there, and it's fun. But I'm a little actually nervous for the Patriots from the aspect of the expectation level. I think me and you have talked about for legitimately, Mike Vrabel got hired, January 15th-ish? Mm-hmm. We came on here and we said, hey, if he can get them to win 7 or 8 games this year, show really tangible progress, and next year you go all out where you're a destination for free agents. The young core is now experienced under Vrabel for a year. Then you go compete for the division in 26, and you hope you can push yourself to the end in 25. It feels like it's now, can you go win, can you go be a 2 seed? Like, I don't know how I'm not trying to be a dick. I don't know how we got here.
I'll tell you why we got there, because, fans, whatever, that's what they do, right? You start looking and going, ooh, it's when the media starts dipping into it is when I sort of like, hey, you did watch this team win 4 games in a row, 2 straight years, like not just 2. And while you can be excited about Mike Vrabel and the coaching staff, and I certainly am, I think it's a massive step up from where you were last year. And you could even go back to 2 years ago and the way Bill was running that thing and say massive upgrade from that as well. Yeah. That there's still so many questions that you don't have answers to, and you can like free agency. And I certainly did like a good part of what they did in free agency. You can like the draft, and everybody universally, it's been a long time since I've covered a Patriots draft where most everybody was like, yeah, that was a good draft. They did good things. Like, instead of having to convince yourself that, that pick, but yeah, no, Bill will make it work, or Gerard will make it work. No, like, they've had a really nice offseason. They have a plan in place. There's a program. They're building it the right way. but to go from 4 to 12, I mean, I'm sure it's happened a few times in the course of NFL history. I think it's a reach. And I'll just quickly, because I don't want to pee on everybody's parade here, but like,
but I don't think we are. That's the thing.
I know. Who's the number one receiver? Who's the number one receiver? Stephon Diggs coming off a torn ACL in his 30s. Like, could he get back to what he was? He could. It's possible. Like, the ACL is not the Achilles or something like that, but he's on the wrong side of 30.
Yeah, you want to see it.
Yeah. Your draft class last year, aside from Drake May, was invisible, disappointing. So, like, you have a whole class of football players that they're not giving up on just yet, but you don't know if there's anything there. You certainly didn't see anything last year. Your offensive line is a left tackle drafted in the first round with historically short measurements. Okay. You don't have a left guard currently. You got a center from Minnesota who was horrible last season. There are some metrics that will tell you like he was one of the worst centers in football. Maybe a change of scenery, system, whatever helps. Just telling you that's what it was last year. Your right guard got paid the most money of anybody on the team and came in out of shape and had a disappointing season for himself. And your right tackle, you lived it. Morgan Moses, 34 years old, awesome guy, pretty good when he's on the field. Body's starting to break down. It's been breaking down the last couple seasons. So, like, okay, we just talked about your offensive line. You tried to address it, but you don't know that you fixed it. And pass rushers, who's your pass rusher? Harold Landry? Like, Harold Landry was let go because Harold Landry, despite having 9.5 sacks, was not very good for Tennessee last year. So there are just a million questions that I have that would prevent me at this point, without having seen them, by the way. We haven't seen them on the football field with pads on, playing with something at stake, and say, oh yeah, 12 wins. Like, that's nonsense.
It's just frustrating because it comes off as like we're hating on the Patriots, and in reality, it's actually not that at all. I actually think I'm being pretty positive that a team is going to double or over double their win total. I can't fathom where we've put this pressure on a team that I actually don't think even the Patriots want. Because like, then if they do win 8 games, Mike, and they actually do all the things we said, where, hey, Gonzalez is established, we're giving him $150 million in the offseason. Diggs looks like a guy who's going to be here in 26. Drake May is our franchise guy, and now we've seen it for 17 weeks. He stayed healthy. He looks good. Will Campbell's in at least an average to above average left tackle in this league. Barmore is healthy. Milton Williams is worth the, aren't you feeling really good at 8-9 in a lot of ways? Where you're like, dude, we doubled our win total. We have all of these pieces, and now we have all this money. We can go next offseason. We're going to load up on another receiver, and we're gonna trade up in the draft for a receiver because we feel so good, or whatever. I'm just using examples. That feels like a disappointment now, because the expectation almost has jumped to, like, if you're not competing with Buffalo rep for rep, punch for punch, like they did for a quarter and a half in Buffalo last year, then you're a disappointment. And I just think that's ridiculous. Like,
I do too. I've said it. You said it.
On them.
Yeah, we're on board. If they're a 7-8 win team and it's clear that their trajectory is pointing upward, then
the first year of a regime with a young quarterback. This
right, and that's a real
you're legit. Mm-hmm. And then in year 2, you took your lumps. Maybe they lose a couple close games, and they 8-9. We win here or there, and it's like, ooh. But if we win here or there, and we add a couple more pieces, now we are that 11 win team going into next year. That feels really good. Like, Buffalo's a year older, and Vrabel year 2, it really clicks for these guys. Like, I just don't think it's fair to do that to them. Maybe I'm being soft, whatever. I think the expectation should be 8 wins. Even 8.5 for Vegas is kind of in the right zone.
Yep, I would agree. I just think, too, like, you look at it, and kind of like my first reaction to the schedule, 3 of the first 4 games are at home, and it's not like Murderer's Row. It's Vegas. But just like you're in your first year with Mike Vrabel, Vegas is in their first year with Pete Carroll, who is a good coach. Geno Smith came here with Seattle last year and ripped you apart. Granted, he should be playing against a better defense this year, and certainly a better coach defense than the one last year. But, like, he's a good football player. That's not an easy game. Go into Miami. As we know, it's been a house of horrors for the Patriots for a long, long time. Then back home against Pittsburgh, which we assume is Aaron Rodgers and not Mason Rudolph. But, oh, by the way, you lost to Mason Rudolph last year when he played for Tennessee. And then Carolina. So there is that. It's a nice way to start the season. And there is a possibility that if they're a little bit ahead of schedule because I think generally it takes a little bit of time to get the program in place with a brand new coach. You could be conceivably 3-1 coming out of September, and at the very least, probably 2-2, and that's a nice place to be. You go to Buffalo on Sunday Night Football. You played Buffalo tough, even when you haven't been good, with the exception of a couple of years there where Josh Allen really figured out the Belichick defense. It's probably a loss. And then they continue this 3-game road trip at New Orleans, at Tennessee. Both winnable games, but they probably look at you and say, that's a winnable game for us. So it just sort of, I think that's what happens as you start looking at it, and you're not necessarily, you look at the team, you're like, oh, that's a win. You just check that off, and they're looking at you the same way you're looking at them. And those are the games. Last year, they love to tell us all the time, right? Oh, we were in all these one-score games. That's the friggin' league. The league is one-score games. The good teams win those one-score games. When you have that crazy season like Minnesota did, you're winning all of those games. Those one-score games, they all end up in your favor. So maybe they're due a little luck in that regard. But again, I just think the right number is about 8. And, talk to me again when we get into late August and we're doing our season preview. And then maybe I've seen enough where I say, hey, look, man, I think 10 wins is on the table. Like, that's fine. But right now, knowing what you know about the football team, it's too much of a reach. I hate the week 14 bye again. Like, that's just so hard. That's 13 weeks.
I almost think this team could have used an early bye with Diggs, other guys, Barmore, like guys that
reset
probably
a little
needed
bit.
a reset like week 6 or 7, frankly, than week 14.
Yeah, it's just a tough time. You go into that, everybody's beat up by that point of the year, but now you in particular, because it's so late in the season. And then when you come out of it, it's Buffalo and Baltimore. And then you can end the season, you get at the Jets, and then Miami in that game that whatever, it's January 3rd, January 4th, could be, moved around depending on if either team is in the mix for a postseason. But it's like, you better do some good work before that bye week, because that's a tough little slate to finish the season. And again, I say, like, Miami coming here, like normally you would say, oh, that, late season, Miami's had your number. Like, that's been a thing for like 4 years now, home or away. They beat you when Tua plays. So you're right. The over-under is 8.5. That feels like it's a fair point. And I think that little stretch there at the beginning of the season, if you really want to talk yourself into going over, then you got to win 3 of those 4. And we'll see. We'll see if they're ready for it. But it's fun. They get that, like you were saying, you got a lot of 1:00 games. This is after a couple seasons of 1:00 games. They've got 3 prime timers, the Thursday night game against the Jets, the Monday night game at home against the Giants, and the Sunday night football game in Buffalo to start October. So, start to get a little bit more relevant. I wondered if the Tennessee game would get some national TV because it's Vrabel versus Tennessee. But then I remembered that the league doesn't care about Tennessee. So until Tennessee's good, I believe Tennessee has all their games at 1:00 this year or 12:00 local. So I should have thought that one through, because Tennessee is not an attractive team for the league or the networks.
Yeah, look, this is going to be an interesting one. I think, Mike, we want to just talk a little bit about a couple of these big matchups league-wide. I hate Ravens-Bills week 1. Hate it. Absolutely hate it. And here's why. The discourse is going to be horrendous. It was already bad coming out of last year. I felt like this. I like, good teams matching up early in the year, late in the year, and you kind of get a litmus test of who came out of camp ready. But I think coming out of week 1 is pretty much, we've learned, is not a big indicator of future success. It does not mean it does not matter. It matters a ton, because that week 1 win counts just the same as every other one. But the Bills and Ravens may match up again later in the year, and I think a lot of people will probably pick that as an AFC title game. And if Josh Allen plays great, it's going to be, he's the best player in the NFL. And if Lamar plays, he's going to be the best player in the NFL. And it's like, I don't know, dude, both guys are awesome. And sure, we can have those takes, but I wish that game was like week 10, where it's like, ooh, the 8-1 Bills against the 7-2 Ravens. And this really, because we watched this last year where the game meant nothing because the Ravens steamrolled them. The Bills looked terrible, and then they beat them.
Yeah, when it mattered.
I would have liked to see that game later in the year. I don't know if you feel like that with some of these, even like the Cowboys are on 150 times this year, and I'm not surprised.
Right.
But I actually kind of feel like this was the year to almost hide them a bit and let them get good again before we are just walloped with Cowboys, fanatics.
Yeah, well, I think Schefter put out the tweet where it was like, of the 5, whatever his little ad thing that he does there sometimes, whatever ticket agency that he's working through, is like 3 of the 5 highest priced games demand after the schedule was released were Cowboys games. So, I mean, but I think that the Cowboys games in general, unless they really suck, people tend to go. Cowboys fans are everywhere. They tend to go to games. If they're good, then it really takes it up to another level. I have more general thoughts that I wanted to get to. One is, we'll stick in that division with the Cowboys, is Philly. Philly's schedule, they don't have back-to-back home games at any point during the course of the season. It's just kind of an oddity, where, it's nice when you look at the schedule and go, oh, we got this little stretch here where, like the Patriots, as I said, 3 of the first 4 are at home. It's like, hey, settle in. I know, I got, your tickets and family and all these different things, and I can get in a routine and those sorts of things. Whereas the Eagles, it's going to be 1 week home, 1 week away, 1 week home, 1 week away. And of course, they are a primetime team. They're in a bunch of primetime games, I think 6 this year, which is not unexpected. They won the Super Bowl, but it's like, so they're not a lot of 1 o'clock. So their schedule is just going to be bouncing around all over the place, breaking in a new offensive coordinator. So I'm just curious to see how that goes. We saw them a couple of years ago after getting to the Super Bowl, the sort of drop off after they lost both coordinators. And I think there'll be the possibility that it'll take them a little while to sort of figure out, even though they have the same pieces offensively, what they are and what the coordinator is capable of doing. And, maybe, again, just sort of the travel schedule and whatnot can sort of impact the kind of, if you were thinking 13, 14 wins, maybe take a game or 2 off that just based on the schedule alone.
Why are the Falcons on primetime 5 times?
I don't know. That one kind of blew my mind. I mean, look, if you like Penix, I get it. We didn't see a ton of them last year, but what we did, you kind of liked. But that just seems like scratching Arthur.
And I'm not trying to be a dick.
Is that an Arthur Blank? Like, hey, I'm a longtime NFL owner, and I want my team in primetime.
They have a lot of primetime games, man. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. I think the Falcons will be competitive. But all due respect, Raheem Morris has 5 chances in prime time to be time management wise as bad
to do what he did last year.
Yeah,
which is
there's just the NFL does this thing where they, at times with the schedule, they bet on the big teams, and that they should. I just don't understand where they start to bet on every year. The Jets last year, frankly, too. What did the Jets prove in last year? Right? That they needed to be on prime time 9 times last year. Like, they just hadn't. And sometimes I'm like, maybe spread it out a little bit more. Like, I actually like watching some of the middling teams in prime time. I'm not saying that. I just like I guess you're just investing in Penix, right? I guess that's what you're doing, is saying young quarterback, they should be decent, but 5 times felt high. That's all. I just was like, wow, wasn't expecting that one.
No, I'm with you completely. Saw it, didn't like it, and we don't have a choice. I'll give you another one that sort of jumped out to me that I think they're due for some regression anyway, because I talk about coordinators. The Lions lost a large portion of their coaching staff, but one thing that jumped out to me, 7 outdoor games, and we're not talking about outdoor games in, say, Tampa or Miami. We're talking about games in addition to division games in Chicago and Green Bay, at Washington, at Philly, at KC, at Baltimore, at Cincinnati, where weather can certainly play a factor, especially later in the year when it gets colder. You could see snow and all those sorts of things. And we know Jared Goff, for as good as he's been the last couple of years, still remains a guy who is best when he's indoor in a controlled environment. So now, new coordinator, Goff outside for 7 games. Lions is probably still the favorite. I didn't look at the odds. I'm sure they are still the favorite in that division, but I would start to think maybe someone else, Green Bay in particular, if they get their bleep together, could be the NFC South winner. NFC North.
My last take here, keep it short and sweet. The Bears have so much pressure on them week 1. The Caleb article it just dropped, which we'll talk about next week. I know we want to get into that. Wickersham's an absolute beast. That guy just good.
He
He's
gets the juice, man.
unbelievable investigative reporter, if you want to call it that. I don't know what else to call it. Minnesota week 1. Division game. Those games were really good last year, I thought, but they gave Caleb a lot of trouble. Caleb played really well, actually, in the home one. The road game was a little tough. JJ McCarthy's debut, but no one's going to talk about it because Ben Johnson has been very loud. The Bears have been very loud all offseason. Caleb's always in the news. Like, I feel like if they don't look good week 1, we're going to get all the, is Caleb really not that good? Is Ben Johnson, Adam Gase, like all those talking points. And if they're really good and they look impressive, hey, is JJ a bust? Is Caleb now better than Jaden Daniels? Is Ben Johnson the next Sean McVay? Like, we're going to have very polar. They're going to be the biggest overreaction Monday team, or Tuesday team. Just prime time against Brian Flores, a Brian Flores-led defense that should have gotten a lot better based on talent.
Mm-hmm.
It should be a good matchup. That to me is, outside of Buffalo, Baltimore, is the game that you're going to get the biggest week 1. First things first take, get up, Tuesday morning, the whole deal. I actually think I'm looking forward to that discourse, at least a little more than the Allen, Lamar, but
come on.
Way, those are the two that I think stand out of week 1 that like really get you going.
I'll just give you one more sort of general thought, and it's this one's not hard to find. And again, we're only doing what we can with the schedule, with the rosters that we see now. We haven't seen these guys do anything in anger just yet. So as we know, strength of schedule changes. You can look at it and say, they have the cake schedule. And the next thing you know, 3 of those teams that you thought were going to stink are playoff teams. And all of a sudden your overall winning percentage of the teams you're facing is significantly higher than what it looks like on paper going into the year. That said, if I'm Kyle Shanahan and I'm San Francisco, I got ourselves a real opportunity here. They have the easiest schedule by winning percentage on paper, 41% for opponents' winning percentage coming into the year. And you look at the schedule, non-division home, Titans, Jags, Panthers, Falcons, and Bears. On the road, Browns, Colts, Saints, and Giants. I mean, I know that they turned over some important pieces on their roster. They also had a lot of good draft picks, I think, including Mykel Williams, who was pretty high up on the Mike Giardi big board that I never revealed. But he's probably my 4th favorite player in the draft, and he goes 11 to them. And he's going to be opposite Bosa. Like, I think he could be an absolute beast. I think adding Robert Saleh, not a good head coach, pretty good defensive coordinator. They've been looking for some stability at that spot. I think Saleh can give them that. Like, to me, if they can figure out the Purdy thing, and if they get some better health, which, look, I don't expect Trent Williams to play all 17 games. I think it's asking too much at this point in his career. I don't know that I expect Christian McCaffrey to play 17 games. He doesn't do that very often. But I think there are enough pieces in place that if they figure out the quarterback thing and they get Ayuk back at a comparable level somewhere at the midpoint of the season, that's a team that should be a playoff team. So they should be able to take advantage of that schedule. Because, I mean, honestly, let me just repeat. Titans, Jags, Panthers, Falcons, Bears at home. Browns, Colts, Saints, Giants away. Like, I know, not that Kyle Shanahan would ever look at a game and say, I don't think we can win that. But, like, tell me Shanahan and John Lynch are going, did you see what we got for that schedule that because we stunk last year. We get this crappy schedule. Like, boy, could they benefit, because I still think there's a lot of talent on that San Francisco team. And even though Kyle hasn't won the biggest game, and sometimes I think he's guilty of getting tight in the moment, he's still a damn good coach.
Yeah, they're going to be one of those teams that I got to see it. I got to see what everyone looks like. I got to see the week 1 injury report not look like the entirety of their salary cap.
Right.
What's Ayuk going to be when he's back? What's Fred Warner with a healthy foot? What's McCaffrey look like? What are these young guys? What's Trent Williams? Everyone gets old, and I want does Trent finally hit a wall? I hope not. I love watching him play football, but this feels like this is the last year, and I hope he doesn't have a Tyron Smith-ish year where it's like these guys are the 2 best tackles I've seen the last 20 years in the NFL or 15 years. I just hope that it ends he goes out with a bang. Just San Francisco is going to be one of those teams where I got to see it to believe it, because I trust the top end talent, trust the coach, the organization, but last year sucked. And I know a lot of guys got hurt and fell apart, but unfortunately their roster is built up of some of these guys that are older and some guys that are prone to be hurt, and they got to show it, because they've had these years where I think Greg Rosenthal of NFL Network just tweeted this out. Kyle Shanahan either wins multiple playoff games or they're like an 11 or 12 loss team. There's never an in between with them. We're gonna know really quickly. Like, I think we're gonna know by week 4, like, this Niners team is gonna win 12 games, or we might be looking at like an Andy Reid and Philly situation where it's like, you're amazing, but it might be time. Right. That's kind of where I'm going to end up settling with the Niners.
Very good. A lot of fun. Looking forward to the games counting for real, although I'm not going to fast forward through my summer just yet. I know some people are like, really, I still need my summer. Mikey likes the summertime. A reminder for those of you listening to the show, we ask you to subscribe to the podcast, like and leave a review. And for those watching the show on CLNS, go ahead, hit that like button, subscribe to the Patriots Press Pass YouTube channel, where you can find our show and a lot of other good Patriots and league content. Also, please make sure to turn on your notifications so you know the instant a new video drops. We thank you for being with us on this Thursday, May 15th. He is Will. I am Mike. We will see you next week.